FBA fees climbing, I'm losing my grip. Storage costs rising, they'll never let me skip. Refunds I'm eating, returns pile up too. Oh, Amazon, what else will you do? I look at my dashboard, my profits erased. My margins are gone, it's a slap in the face. Prime Day's a promise, but it's such a race. How much will I make if I'm replaced? It's a cruel, cruel number. Fees keep climbing, profits torn asunder. Oh, it's cruel, the sellers wonder how to survive when the margins go under. It's a cruel, cruel number. Every month it's something new to plunder. Oh, it's cruel, it's no wonder we're stuck in this game. The algorithm's thunder.
Yo, Amazon's back, and they got a new scheme. Reimbursement slashed, it's every seller's dream. They're digging deep, taking more from the pot. Let's break it all down, expose what they got. March 25, it's a policy drop. They say manufacturing costs, but we know it's a flop. Give us your cogs, they're demanding the price. But if you don't, they'll estimate nice. Nice for them, not for you. Watch a payout shrink. That comprehensive evil is a corporate wing. Lost in the warehouse, damaged on the floor. Now they pay you pennies, not a cent more. Fees on the rise, profits on the run. They don't lift a finger, but they pocket the fun. We're fair! They shout while they cut our shares. Amazon math, man, it's full of errors. Fees, taking our dough. They're stacking the deck, and it's sellers who owe. Reimbursement? Nah, they're taking us down, but we're still here, we don't mess around. Fees, straight to the top. Amazon's game, it'll never stop. Margins tight, but we keep the grind. Sellers unite, we're one of a kind.
I try to sell my product on Amazon, thought it'd be a breeze. But little did I know I'd be stuck with seller support disease. They never seem to solve my problems, just give me the runaround. I'm tired of waiting on hold. My patience is wearing thin, I'll never be found. Amazon seller support, you suck, you suck, you suck. Can't get no satisfaction. I'm out of luck, out of luck, out of luck. You don't care about my business, just trying to make a buck. Amazon seller support, you suck, you suck, you suck.
This one's for the sellers on the grind, getting left on red, wasting all their time. I hit up support, got an auto reply. Thanks for your patience, man, I wanna cry. Inventory lost, my margins are toast. Reps playing tag like the Casper the Ghost. They pass me around, it's a never-ending game. Nobody takes action, everybody shifts blame. My ASINs down, I'm out of the race. They say they'll escalate, yo, what a disgrace. Amazon seller support, you're breaking my heart. No answers, no fixes, just tearing me apart. Hours in the queue, stuck in the dark. Amazon seller support, you're missing the mark.
Amazon game plan, that is the key. Seller Central dashboard, that's where I be. Analyze the funnel, see what we lack, then we optimize. Sellers know it's a fact. I get it poppin', you know that it's lit. Climbing the rankings, ain't no room to quit. I check the data, they notice the stats. I keep the method, that's how you adapt. Metrics are showing, you know it's our cap. Amazon sellers, it's time to react. I'm about that action, I do this with passion. I got them like, whoa, what is this? Huh, whoa.
I don't know, dude. I think everybody's just buying stuff based on reviews and badges or whatever. They don't even know who we are. These customers don't even know the name of my brand. But they keep clicking add to cart like it's part of the plan. They see that Amazon badge and think it's all grand. But yo, they don't even know the name of my brand.
Click, scroll, build your store. Amazon's waiting, what you waiting for? Brand it loud, make it shine. Steven's here to drop the rhyme. Tiles, banners, plug and play. Your storefront's live, let's sell a day. Now listen up, I'm Steven Pope. Amazon guru, I'll help you cope. Step 1, get that trademark stamped. Without brand registry, your Amazon cramped. Head to Seller Central, log in quick. Manage stores tab, yeah, that's the trick. Upload your logo, flex that style. You're about to make Jeff Bezos smile. Where pick a template, marquee or grid. Drop your tiles like a branding whiz. Hero image, big and bold. This store's gonna glitter like digital gold. Flex, grow, build your store. Amazon's waiting, what you waiting for? Brand it loud, make it shine. Steven's here to drop the rhyme. Blue tiles, banners, plug and play. Your storefront's live, let's sell today. Yo. In the trenches of the Amazon game, trying to survive while it's driving me insane. Nobody warns you, they just claim it's passive income. Nah, it's pain. I'm sitting at a birthday, laughing, chilling, next to a newbie Amazon seller spilling. She's like, Prime so smooth, it's a killer. Then tried to sell, now she's stuck in a thriller. Finding products, yeah, that's the first grind. Scrolling Alibaba, losing my mind. Samples suck, manufacturers decline. I'm like, dang, how's anyone doing this fine? Ship it in, pay for the bubble wrap, but they ship glass bottles in padded crack. Now I got hot sauce leaks, refund stacked, customers pissed. Man, I'm under attack. Amazon's a beast, it's a fight, no peace. From SEO to PPC, the hustle don't cease. Think it's passive? Nah, you better increase your tolerance for chaos or face defeat. Trademark wars, brand registries a scam. They banned my brand, now I'm in a jam. Listings yanked, products ranked and tanked. Lost dogs in the catalog, my account shanked. Now let's talk ads, it's a rabbit hole. 1,000 hours deep, man, it's taking my soul. Weekly negations, bulk sheets for control. Excel's my new weapon, but it's taking its toll. SEO's no joke, keywords in the game. All text, A+ content, playing insane. Lifestyle shots, avatars for fame, but the CTR's low, all products look the same. Amazon's a beast, it's a fight, no peace. From SEO to PPC, from SEO to PPC, the hustle don't cease. Think it's passive? Nah, you better increase your tolerance for chaos or face defeat. Let's go to Max School. To Max School. Class is now in session with Professor Pope. They got the SAP, cause Professor Pope wrote the recipe. Helping Amazon sellers grow sales exponentially. Amazon's a jungle, but we map the strategy. Brand strategist playbook, it's a guide to victory. Troubleshooting catalog, you know we got the answer key. Boosting all your rankings, turning sales into a legacy. SOB so deep, you'd think we studied at Max School. Every step we follow leads to growth, yeah, it's a golden rule. Stuck on keywords, we'll find the ones that work the best. Using helium-10, strike distance keywords pass the test. Incremental indexing ensures the listing set to rise. From the back end to the bullets, optimization hits the sky. Brand store creation, yeah, we make it shine and flow. A+ content design makes conversions overflow. Need your images on point, best practices in the plan. All text and photo rules ensure your visuals command. SEO meets PPC, it's balanced, every step aligned. We'll construct the MKLs that drive rankings over time. Budget caps and bid adjustments, no more wasted spending. Segmentation builds campaigns that sellers can defend. Got a hijacker, no problem, we'll file to take them down. Review requests in action, 5-star ratings come around. Flat file updates, market share reports, it's all in reach. Professor Pope wrote the SOP so sellers learn and teach.
Meanwhile, my Amazon guys on the case, fixing up my problems at lightning pace. Ticket escalations, Mag's the boss. Even Amazon says we'll take the loss. Seller support don't know what's up. Passing the buck when the issue gets tough. They're the official team, but they can't comply. So they say, reach out to my Amazon guy. They're supposed to be the pros, but they can't decode policies and tools from their own damn road. I'm paying fees, yet they bring me stress. But Mag turns my chaos into pure success. Seller support reps, they throwing shade, but then admit, yo, Mag will get you paid. Third-party agency taking the throne while Amazon fumbles in their own damn zone. Seller support don't know what's up. Passing the buck when the issue gets tough. They're the official team, but they can't comply. So they say, reach out to my Amazon guy. So here's the truth, let's keep it real. Mag's the team with the pro-level skill. Amazon sellers, you know the vibe when support says call Mag. They'll give you peace of mind. Amazon seller support, you can suck my image stack. Sucking is all you're good at anyway. Bezos, hit me up if you want to sell seller support. I'm buying. There's a chase. Peace.
All right, we are live and happy Prime Day. Today is Prime Day. I'd love to know, how is Prime Day going for you? So for those of you who are watching live, let us know in the comments using an emoji to describe your Prime Day experience. And if you're watching the replay, I'd love to know as well, because you might be busy working on your campaigns or whatever the case is. So let us know using an emoji, and we would do reward participation from time to time. So just let us know with an emoji in the comment section. Let us know how your experience is so far on Prime Day. And that could be on fire. It could be a dumpster fire. It could be money bags. It could be sad face. It could be a happy face. There are no right or wrong answers, only your answers. So we will reward participation from time to time. So Mikhail says, it looks like that is the heart emoji. Every time I do like that, oh, let's do an emoji. And I always forget, like in StreamYard, it's like really small letters. It's hard to tell. So we've got the little heart emoji for those who can't see, or you need glasses like me. I have to whip them out sometimes for these things. So Mikhail, you can email podcast@myamazonguy.com and we'll get you a free course. I think you've been to some of our other stuff before, but we'll get you a free mag school course valued at $100. If you're watching this and you're like, I don't want to comment, you can still save 50% off of a mag school course. Just go to mag-school.com. Do I have a banner for that? I should have asked for that ahead of time. I just actually, literally, as we're talking, I thought about we should do a banner for that. But you can just go to mag-school.com and put in promo code MAG50. So I'm going to throw that up on the screen here. So mag-school.com, not /MAG50, but just put in coupon code MAG50. Maybe I'll make that clearer. Code. All right, let's see if that makes it a little clearer what I'm talking about here. Oh, no, wrong banner there. Sorry, folks. mag-school.com and then just put in promo code MAG50 and you can save 50% off any of our $100 courses or our bundle. Let's see, this person said Keg and Kurtz did not participate. You didn't participate in asking for an emoji, which I'll say there's still time. If you want to put in a emoji and get a free mag school course, just do that real quick, folks. $100 value, although you can save 50% off of those courses this week only. But if you would like to get a free course, just let me know using an emoji to describe how Prime Day is going for you. So I got lots of questions starting to come in. Let me know how things are going for you. And if you have any questions, drop them into the comments. The one thing, did not participate in Prime Day. Well, I guess you kind of participate in Prime Day if you're selling. I personally didn't do a ton of discounts, although there are a few things I'm doing to kind of spike things on Prime Day and beyond, but not too heavy discounts on my own business, although it does work better for some businesses than others. I will say that. Mine has not historically been great on Prime Day necessarily, but you are still participating in Prime Day, I guess, if you're selling on Amazon as of today, unless you just turned off all your listings and said, to heck with this. I don't want the sales. All right. So if you have questions, drop them into the comments. I will be stopping this at the top of the hour. So it's 12:03 right now, Eastern time. And at 1 o'clock, we will be ending this. So what ends up happening oftentimes is we get to the end and we run out of time. And so if you want to be to get your question answered, you're more likely to get it answered now because I go for the most part in order. Sometimes I skip around a little bit. But all right, so we want knowledge. Hi, if you have no margin left and you want to participate in Prime Day deals, what can you do? I want your recommendation. Is launching campaigns for Prime Day a good strategy or not? What strategy should I apply? And we're using an engram process for negative targeting. What's your suggestion? Okay, so the engram is more of a Michael Erickson Fasheen from Ad Badger. Shout out to him. He's spoken at some of my virtual summits about PPC before on the Ngram thing, which we'll get to here in a moment. But back to the more timely, relevant to today question about, I have no margin left and want to participate in Prime Day deals. What can you do? So you have to decide, if you don't have the margin for it, is it something that's going to give you some additional sales? If you have the inventory and you think it'll get you additional sales, which could potentially help you in the ranking, and you're a competitive category, and this will help you maybe over the next few months, then maybe it's worth doing. But you have to decide that. What can you do? You can also do a deal for people who clicked on your listing. Basically, viewers of your product page, and basically as a retargeting thing. Or actually, you could do retargeting for people who viewed but didn't purchase, or added to cart and didn't purchase in sponsored display, and then you can run deals for people who visited your product page, because some people are just window shoppers. They're just clicking around. Now, the thing to keep in mind with that is, like, if they already paid for an ad click and you can get them back to your product, they're highly likely to buy it because they showed interest in it before. Maybe just wasn't the right thing. So whether that's on Prime Day or after Prime Day, setting up deals for those people can be beneficial. So you may want to consider that, because if you've already gotten the traffic to your site, to your page, to your landing page, you might as well try to get them again, is the way I look at it. Because otherwise you already ate that cost for a click in a lot of cases, because a lot of times they clicked on your ad. So that's why a lot of times, especially the days leading up to Prime Day, your ACost can be a little out of whack, just because people are clicking around for Prime Day. But this is interesting this year because it's 4 days instead of 2. So we don't know. Now, this one is, I want your recommendation, is launching campaigns for Prime Day a good strategy or not? What strategy should I apply? I would say right now, it's hard to say. Again, it's 4 days instead of 2 days. I don't know that running campaigns is worth it just for 2 to 4 days, because the algorithm takes a little bit of time, in my opinion, to even get moving. So unless you're doing single word campaigns that you just have history really perform well on Prime Day, but those keywords don't perform as well during the rest of the year, and you want granular ability to for placements and budget, maybe you do that. But if for 99% of use cases, I wouldn't say it's worth it to do a Prime Day only strategy. Just have good keyword targeting and a product detail page listing that is convertible, meaning you can make conversions with it. All right, so we use an Ngram process for negative targeting. What's your suggestion? So the Ngram analysis that Michael Erickson has put together, shout out again to Michael from our folks at Ad Badger, is he had put together something where, if you can think about it, let's say you go for marker. I'm going to probably use this one a few times. So you go for marker. You might show up for red marker. You might show up for red permanent marker. You might show up for all these little things here and there. You might show up for blue permanent marker, even though you just went for the keyword marker. But because you have a red marker, the blue doesn't convert. But maybe you don't have a lot of clicks. And so every time you go to look at your search term report, you're just getting 1 or 2 clicks for certain search terms. So they don't really hit the sweet spot of, whatever number it is, whether it's 10 clicks and no sales, double your conversion rate with no sales, whatever the case is, you're not getting enough data to support turning or making a negative exact for that particular search term. So you just leave it alone. Whereas with the Ngram, it's basically an analysis where every time the word blue shows up, which is probably an obvious example with a red marker, but sometimes there's less obvious ones where something just isn't quite right, and you don't get a lot of clicks for particular words, or for a particular search term, but there's maybe one word that's in multiple search terms that aren't converting. And so maybe individually, none of them get more than 1 or 2 clicks, but collectively there's like 20 clicks and no sales. So the n-gram analysis points to certain words, which in this case, let's say blue, does not convert because it's a different, maybe there was enough curiosity people had to click on your listing, but it wasn't the right intent. So they ended up falling off and not buying your product. So that would be my suggestion for the n-gram analysis, is to look for those search terms that aren't converting, or individual words contained in multiple search terms that aren't converting is more, I think, the better way to phrase it. All right. Shan Jinjua says, I have launched a new product with 0 reviews. The good news is we all launch with 0 reviews, so you're not alone. I've also created sponsor product auto campaigns for brand awareness and sponsor product manual campaigns to target keywords. I'm not getting any sales. So my question would be, and your follow-up question is, how do I generate first sales through PPC? My question to you is, what time period are we looking at? Did you just launch these yesterday, or did you launch them 6 months ago? Hopefully it's closer to yesterday than 6 months ago with no sales. So couple things I would look at is, one, are you getting impressions? So like, are you spending money? And if you're not spending money, maybe your bid is too low and you want to at least get some data, even though it may not be the data you want, but at least gets you some data and gets you closer to the right targeting. Now with auto campaigns, Amazon's trying all kinds of different angles with different keywords that they think are relevant to try to get the right customers in front of your product. So, excuse me, a lot of times it's not going to work quite as well. Then with the manual campaigns, one thing you may want to look at is, if you're not getting sales, get ultra focused. And I'm going to show an example here using my good friend, the marker. I think this is technically a permanent marker, but let's just pretend this is dry erase, because this is the example I like to give quite a bit. So let me share my screen here. Oh, there's nothing on there just yet. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen. This is Amazon. We're all familiar with what Amazon looks like, but let's just look up markers. All right, so for markers, if I was selling a dry erase, or let's say red dry erase marker is really what people are searching for and are going to find a product like mine. But a lot of people make the mistake of like, what has the most search volume, and they go after that. So looking at this, scrolling down, scrolling down, scrolling down, scrolling down. Do I even see dry erase markers? So it's a lot of crafting markers, Crayola markers, adult drawing, kids coloring. So like crafting type markers. You can see there's a very different intent than if somebody was looking for a dry erase marker, which technically a dry erase marker is a marker. We got now Sharpies starting to show up. Have I seen a dry erase? No, I don't think I've seen a dry erase yet. Permanent marker. So it's mostly permanent markers, Sharpie type markers. Okay, here, Expo, dry erase marker. So I get all the way down here before I see any dry erase markers. And maybe I missed one or two. But you can see, like, even if your customer finds your product on this page, or they have to look around quite a bit before they find your product on this page, if you're dry erase marker. But if I am, let's say, dry erase, which is a misspelling, dry erase markers, now the intent is completely different. So it's less of the crafting and more of like actual dry erase markers. But let's say you have just a set of red, because sometimes people need red, like maybe an accountant likes to have red, or a teacher likes to have red. So maybe there's certain people that would want a red marker, a red dry erase marker. So now let's go a little bit deeper down from marker to dry erase markers to now red dry erase markers. Now, if I'm selling red dry erase markers as a set, it's both sets that include red dry erase as well as red markers by themselves. So if you're selling a dry erase marker, a set of dry erase markers, whatever the merchandising is that makes sense, you're going to do a lot better with the keyword red dry erase markers than just markers. Now, to the person who asked the question and maybe like, well, what does that have to do with my product? I'm not 100% sure, but you have to decide what is it for your product. Is the keyword markers that's super generic, that maybe gets a lot of traffic? What are some of the other similar words? Because if you go after permanent marker, let's say red permanent marker or red Sharpie marker or something like that, but you're selling a dry erase marker, which has a different use case and different intent from the customer, you're not going to do anywhere near as well as you would going after much more targeted keywords like dry erase marker and red dry erase marker. So you have to look at it as what are those more long tail keywords that aren't going to get as many clicks, but they may actually get you more sales and do it more profitably. And then maybe one day you can look to see when you get more reviews and you have more history, can you go after the really broad phrases that may not even be phrases, maybe just one words, like markers. So you have to look at yours and what are those keywords for your product that make the most sense there for you and where you're at. All right. Quasi Ellen Crozier says, I'm applying for brand management intern at my Amazon guy. So give me some tips about how to clear culture index survey successfully. Okay. So anyone who's interested in working at my Amazon guy, you can go to myamazonguy.com/jobs. We do have what's called culture index. My Amazon guy has a very unique culture, as a lot of companies do. I've worked in other companies that have different style, unique cultures. And one of the ways that we look for folks that have the right culture or fits is with culture index. I would highly recommend you to be as transparent as possible and answer accurately, not what you think we want to hear. Because at the end of the day, you'll probably find the best fit for you, whether that's my Amazon guy or somewhere else. Because also too, like, sometimes people, like, in general, you're applying for a job and you put the answers you think they want to hear. But if you put the answers you are actually more accurate to how we reflect for you, maybe you would have actually gotten the job. But maybe because you put it for somewhere else, you would have been a fit, but you're not thought of as a fit. So my 2 cents there. All right. Then next up, Mikhail says, in Prime Day, can we decrease bids and hours? I mean, you can increase them and decrease them as the day goes on. My only caution to you is, do you have enough data to support going up or down? And so I think sometimes when in doubt, just leave it alone. You could increase your bids if looks like you're getting an increase of traffic or things are starting to slow down a little bit and you're expecting them to pick up. Like for me, this is a above average day at this point. There are a lot of extra people on the platform. So that means there's going to be an increase in sales. And so you could look at it as how can you get more sales? But you're going to need to first look and see, like, okay, is it worth it to spend a lot of time going up and down? Because, as Amazon has an attribution window of 7 days. So you could give people adding to the cart today and on Thursday or Friday, they buy it. Well, if you started pulling the trigger and making changes now, you could be affecting other potential add to carts because you were worried about not getting sales yet, but those sales will be attributed to today. So that later in the week, today's going to look better once you get those later sales in. So I would caution making a lot of rash decisions just because it's Prime Day. Or in general, I don't recommend making rash decisions. And so just because it's Prime Day doesn't mean that that's a day to start like changing lots of stuff. I mean, it's a busier than average day, but it's not crazy day unless you have really big sales and you have history to support those big sales. It could just be another way to get more sales to your product and more eyeballs in your product. And that could help you long term. But I wouldn't make a lot of increases and decreases in bids along the way, more than you normally would. Other than the fact that maybe if you get 20% increase in sales, maybe you have 20% increase in data. So then you could do 20% more optimizations. All right. So next up, Mikhail asks, if yes, can we increase the bids in hours so that what's the best time to increase? It's more about increasing the budget than anything else. I mean, I know there's some tools that probably will do that for you, but I wouldn't focus a lot of time on that. So anyway, next up. Oh, little reminder there from our folks here. You can go to get a Mag School course for 50% off. Just go to mag-school.com and use promo code MAG50 for any of our $100 courses or our bundles. You can save 50%. So, all right, let's get back to some questions. If you have questions, drop them into the chat. Oftentimes what happens is people will wait until the end and then they start asking their questions and we may not have enough time. And quite often I end up missing a lot of people's questions not because they didn't have good questions or I didn't want to, just we ran out of time. So I would suggest that you get to your questions as quickly as possible, or drop your questions in now because you're more likely to get them answered. So, all right. Next up, what do we have? Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out where I'm at. All right. So Mikhail also asks, in some campaigns, we have better sales. So how much we increase the bids in that campaign's keyword? It depends. So if you're talking about the fact that you might have the same keyword in multiple campaigns, because maybe one is broad, one is phrase, one is for a different product, just let the data speak to it. And sometimes it makes absolutely no sense why the same keyword in multiple campaigns will perform differently. So you might have an exact and think, oh, it's going to perform better. But in reality, the broad performs better. So just let the data speak to where for whatever reason, the algorithm has favorited a particular keyword in a particular campaign, and just go where the data points. Don't overthink it. Don't think, well, I really need the exact version of this keyword to perform the best. No, you don't. You just want sales and you want it profitable. So that would be my suggestion. All right. Gregor Lungu says, hi, I run a sponsor brand video broad campaign. I do have the same customer search term converting differently on two different keywords. If I negate it from one keyword, will it get banned across the board? Okay. So you have a campaign. So, okay. So if you think about this, when it comes to a negation, you can, if I'm understanding the question correctly, it's if I negate a keyword and I have two different keywords that are both in the same, I'm assuming they're in the same campaign. Will negating that keyword affect both? If you negate the search term, will it affect both keywords in the campaign that are doing well? And the answer is most likely yes. Because if you think about it, you got a campaign. Within a campaign, you have an ad group. So if whether at the campaign level or the ad group level, you put in, let's say, an exact match negation, that's going to affect all keywords in either the campaign, which we recommend just have campaign to ad group with one campaign, one ad group. But if you had multiple ad groups, it would affect all the ad groups in that campaign. Or if you put the negation in the ad group, it would affect all of your keywords that you're targeting in that ad group. So if it's, let's just assume it's in the same campaign, the keywords you're talking about, you would, by making the negation, it would affect that search term across all keywords in your campaign. So hopefully that answered your question. All right. Anna says heart and love. So this was probably relating to, or care, I guess is how Facebook, I think, says this emoji is. So basically earlier in the, in our live stream, we talked about how, or I asked everybody, how is Prime Day going for you? And so I got a variety of answers with emojis. And so I asked an emoji, which you could still, if you wanted to, put an emoji to tell me how Prime Day is going. So it sounds like Prime Day is going well for Anna. So if Anna, if that's the case, congratulations. But either way, thank you for participating. And I did say I was going to reward participation. So if you go to your email and just email podcast, singular, podcast at myamazonguy, just like it's spelled up there, .com, podcast at myamazonguy.com. We'll send you a coupon code for a free mag school course valued at $100. So, all right. Daniel says, I'm watching on my cell phone, unable to watch on the PPC, getting error message. This video is restricted. I've not seen that from anyone else. So perhaps you are signed in on another account that won't, maybe it's different. It shouldn't be restricted. I've not seen anyone else say that they're having issues with the video being restricted. So, and also what is that on YouTube? I know I see you're commenting from YouTube. I'm curious if that's from everybody. Anybody else having problems with your video, let me know. All right. Keegan Hertz, the 6'7" trainer. Must be a very tall gentleman. All right. We had a problem with a video on a listing being uploaded. It was flagged for the illegal content. What was the illegal content? I'm assuming it was probably something the bots flagged and you weren't actually doing something illegal. We reached out to Amazon and they were telling us to contact customer service. Any ideas? Well, if you were watching the live stream before we got started, we had some video or some songs in our countdown about seller support. So sometimes it can be very frustrating and you either have to just put in another ticket or just ask to speak to someone else, because that is absolute nonsense that you would have to speak to customer service. So oftentimes the seller support folks are just, they're reading off of a script and it's becoming more and more just AI. So if the AI, the algorithm, whatever is feeding them how to respond, it might think this is something related to Prime Video. So clearly this is not a Prime Video issue. So you're trying to upload a video either for your listing or for an ad campaign. I would just write it again. And one of the tactics I always like to do is that phrase from Jim Rohn. If you're familiar with Jim Rohn, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. So how can I challenge myself to, I can't control how well seller support does, but I can figure out, is there a way I can be just a little bit clearer? Even if it's, you were 95% clear on it and there was 5% margin that you can increase, or you were 100% clear. How can you go, 3% more to 103% clear? So is there just anything you could do to phrase it a little bit differently that triggers either them or their algorithm to give you a better response? And you might just have to give them a little bit more context or phrase it differently. But that's generally my idea, is that sometimes when you have to have seller support take care of something for you, you have to phrase it a little differently, or maybe you submit it as a different type of case. That sometimes helps. Another, and this could just be more of a urban legend that this works or not, but apparently sometimes putting in tickets at different times of day, because you have different call centers, that maybe one call center in one location, let's say they have a call center in Philippines, a call center in Costa Rica, and a call center in India. I just made that up. So those are 3 different time zones, whereas maybe one is better trained than the other 2. So if you want to, when I say call center, I really mean customer support facility, you might want to try another time of the day. As silly as that might be, you might have more coverage from another place with this more trained. Or, if I think back to like when I was in the corporate world in theme parks and hotels and conventions, that, oftentimes the A team is working Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, even in an operational setting, where sometimes people with lower seniority that don't know quite as much might be working weekends and the evenings. Not that everyone working the weekend evening doesn't know what they're doing, but oftentimes the people that have the most experience and the most seniority or most whatever in a company sometimes get more favorable hours. So if you're putting in, your ticket on Friday, maybe try it like, Friday night or Saturday night, maybe try putting it in on 11 a.m. on a Tuesday. Just, I don't know if that actually would help, but sometimes you just got to get creative, I have found. And sometimes it literally is just brute force. When I say brute force, you just keep submitting the ticket until they submit to giving you a good answer. That actually helps. And every now and then you will find people who, even if, the algorithm's feeding them something wrong, they're still understanding what you're trying to say. They want to go above and beyond. There's still people at Amazon that want to do a good job. I don't want to paint it that nobody's helpful, because it's just sometimes it can feel harder than necessary to do that, to get someone that, even if they have well intention, they just don't understand what you're saying. And so another phrase, I forget who said this, and this is something that stuck with me years ago: always assume that you know more about how the big picture of selling in Amazon works than the person you're working for or the person you're interacting with from seller support. And that's not a knock on them. It's just the fact that, they know whatever's in their training binder. They're not actively in this and seeing how things interact, because they're not creating listings and creating shipments and uploading A+ content and all that. So sometimes you just have to figure out your own way to make things work. So, all right. Let's see what's next. Mikhail, lots of good questions, Mikhail. We're not participating in deals, coupons, etc., but we have reduced our prices so we can get the benefit from Prime Days. Yeah, I mean, I would say try it. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes it really comes down to the product you're selling. And so, like, I sell a lot of products that are very giftable. So I tend to find that Prime Day, it's because discounting it isn't really going to make a factor of whether or not somebody wants to buy a gift for someone else. Now, it might be people that have birthdays in July and August, or that people have, let's say, family members with birthdays in July and August, might be more likely to buy a gift for them on Prime Day, because like, oh, I can get ahead and save some money. So they go out and they buy those gifts. But like, there's only so many people that are, turning whatever age. And then at the same time too, I tend to do better around the holidays, or, the holidays meaning like Q4 or Valentine's Day or Father's Day or whatever the case is. So whereas some products do very well on Prime Day because they're a little more evergreen and it's not based on an event or some moment in time that people buy that product. And if you have something that's either not seasonal or just something that's worth trying at a lower price, it's always worth testing it out. But proceed with caution and don't give away all your margin. But at the same time too, if you can get more sales and that will help you with your ranking, it's definitely worth testing out. All right, next up, Zain Akhtar says, is a product launch on Prime Day feasible? I mean, the question is, why not? My other question is, okay, what are you going to launch between now and Friday? So if you have, let's say you have product and you ordered it, and we all know how it goes. You order product, like, for example, I have a couple shipments that are coming in. One is supposed to come in on Friday, and the other one apparently just got to the port and is waiting to clear customs. Which one left the factory in China first? The one that's coming on Friday. The one that left the factory 2 weeks earlier, I have no idea when it's going to come. So sometimes you just don't know when the product's going to actually get to you, and there's no rhyme or reason sometimes of why some take longer than others, other than maybe certain factories are more efficient than others. So you don't know. So it could just be that you're about to launch a new product and it just happens to be happening over Prime Day. I would say, sure, why not? There's extra people on the platform. Now, chances are, if you're just launching the product on Prime Day, you're not going to hit it out of the park. It could help it because there's more traffic, but I wouldn't worry too much about whether or not it's Prime Day or not. Just it's a day with more traffic, and that can be beneficial. There's also going to be days in August for no explainable reason will have more traffic than Prime Day did for your products. And that just happens sometimes. And that might just be micro to you, or it could just be for whatever reason. Amazon has a lot of traffic on their platform on other random Tuesdays other than the first day of Prime Day, Tuesday today. All right. If you have questions, drop them into the chat. We are getting here towards we're into the second half of this live stream. So I want to get to as many questions as possible. And you're more likely to get your question answered if you ask it sooner than later, because we likely will run out of time. So don't forget to ask that question. There are no dumb questions. It's at the end of the day, we want to help you out. And so whatever question you have, I can pretty much guarantee you someone else has that, and they're going to watch this and be like, oh, wow, I'm so glad they asked that. I hadn't thought of that, but that's a good question. So oftentimes we hold back on asking questions when in reality, we could be benefiting both ourselves and others by asking that question. Okay, so another question from Muhammad here about we should launch campaigns for Prime Days, including keywords of relevant Prime Day and relevant to Prime Day. My question is, what keywords would be relevant to Prime Day that wouldn't be relevant? I wouldn't say deal for Prime Day. That's going to be a very low intent keyword if you can even get away with it. I've never tried it. Including keywords relevant to Prime Day and the product as well, which if it's relevant to the product, it should be relevant year round. We should select a particular budget date range as well. I wouldn't worry too much about Prime Day only campaigns. Somebody might have a case study and prove me wrong, but the way I look at it is like you launch a campaign, and it's not like the campaign just goes gangbusters. The algorithm's trying to figure out where to place it. It might give it a little bit of favorable placements. There might be a little bit of a honeymoon period for a new campaign because it's trying to figure out how that campaign interacts with other products going after the same keywords. And so it might give a little bit of favorable impressions, but I wouldn't spend a lot of time on campaigns for Prime Day only, unless you have a really gangbuster product that can do really well on Prime Day. But, if you're running a campaign that's $10 to $50 a day, I don't know that adding another campaign for Prime Day is going to help you. That's my personal opinion. All right. So then Buddy Care asks, any ideas on my defense campaigns? They aren't very prominent in my competition product pages. Well, sometimes you just got to bid a little higher. And so what this person's talking about is usually when you're talking about defense campaigns, you really mean more like on your own campaign, on your own listings. So let me just pull up Amazon here real quick. So oftentimes when people talk about defense campaigns, what they mean is like, let's say we've got this one here. So X Trick, let's see if they have any. So deals on related products. I don't think I've seen deals on related products. That's probably a Prime Day thing. All right, so let's just look at 4 stars and above. So this Shuttle Art shows up 1, 2, 3 out of the first 6 on this carousel. Sorry, Shuttle Art, we're going to click on you. So Shuttle Art was doing an offensive campaign, or they might have just been doing auto campaigns, but they might have been targeting specifically that product. So a defensive campaign is more going after, so you shut up. So like here, they show up here and here. So they're defending these 2 spots by showing up on their own product detail page with other products. Now, if you really want to get into a defensive mindset, is how do you show up for these other products here? So this one here is probably sponsored display placement. So how do you show up in sponsored display for your own products to another product. You can't do like an inception thing where, you're targeting your own product to your own product, because you can't just show up and have people click and go to the same detail page they're already on. So they'd be going to a different detail page. But every place here you see like Shuttle Art, for example, they show up. So that's Amazon Basics. Okay, so here, Shuttle Art is the brand. They show up here. So they're defending this position. So this probably sponsored display. And they're showing up. So they're preventing someone else from taking up that ad spot. So this is a very defensive posture here. And then if I come down here, and again, the brand is Shuttle Art, Shuttle Art, Shuttle Art, Shuttle Art, Shuttle Art, Shuttle Art. So they're showing up on 4 of the 6 of there. And then the deals, I guess Amazon probably just does whatever for that one. But they're spending a lot of time in defense. And when they show up on someone else's product detail page, it's more of an offense. So they're defending their territory. Now, if you're talking more of an offensive standpoint on your competitors, sometimes you just got to bid more. Now, if you're selling markers, do people buy markers every now and then? I don't know. That's a good question. I would imagine, like our daughter, we bought her like a big, crafting, like this type of thing. She's 15, maybe twice we've bought her a couple of different sets of markers, like big sets of markers. Like we bought her Crayola tons of time, but like these type of crafting things in her life, we've bought her a couple different times. And, I don't know that people would buy these all that often. Now, if you're selling vitamin, let's say B12. All right. So if you're selling vitamin B12 and people are taking this daily or multiple times a day, you might be willing to spend money to show up on your competitors. Now here they're Nature Made doing quite a few, showing up with their other products, other B12 SKUs, other products. But you might want to say like, okay, I'm willing to even lose money to take away from my competitor because the lifetime value of a customer is worth it to me. So you may want to ask yourself that question. Is it worth it? Is there, are you in a consumable space where you can get multiple orders, or are you really more in a one-time space where maybe at best the customer will come back in a year and buy from you? So then maybe it's not quite as worth it for you to lose money on a sale. Whereas I can pretty much guarantee, looking here, that Nature's Bounty is probably willing to lose money for the ads they're spending here to take away from Nature Made. So they're both selling B12. They're both brands you probably could see somewhere else, like in the store. But they're probably willing to lose money here to take away from them and then get long-term value of the customer. So just something to think about there as to whether or not that's worth it to you to spend the money on it, to go after your competitor. And so defense, your own product listings, and then offense, going after your others. And if you're not showing up in your competition, maybe you just need to spend more. Have a higher bid and see if it's worth it. And maybe it is worth it, because at least those are people that are worth going after, because like at least the customer is, interested in products similar to yours. Now, one thing you may want to do that I've seen a lot of people do is you go after products, you go aggressively hard after products with less than 3.5 stars, fewer reviews than you, or a higher price. And so as long as you have, let's say 4.5 stars and above, and other products have 4 stars or below, then you go after them because yours is a better version. So in comparison, if they're comparing your product to their product, Now, if you have 3.5 stars and the other product has 4.5 stars and you have 100 reviews and they have 20,000 and they have a higher rating, that's going to be a really hard road to hoe, so to speak. So you may want to really decide if that's worth going after for you. All right. Rifu asks, I just joined now. I'm a beginner on Amazon. Can you guide step-by-step Amazon PPC campaigns? So great question. We have a lot of content on our channel. So if you go to youtube.com/my Amazon guy, just type in PPC. There are tons and tons and tons of videos that will walk you through step-by-step how to run campaigns. All right. So next up, Keith says, is there a way to get a ballpark range forecast of PPC costs on new product launches? Okay. Yes and no. So some of it is you kind of got to guess. So what I would say, a couple of things you could do to get you at least some level of data here is you could go into the ad manager. It's a campaign manager, I should say, and just go like you're creating a campaign and then look and see like, what does Amazon recommend as the bids? Now you don't necessarily have to go with the bids that they recommend, but what is their range? And then you could look at like, at the high end of the range, the low end of the range. Then you would do basically what would be your conversion rate. Now, if you're selling, B12 vitamins for, let's say, $12, you probably need at least a 10 to 20% conversion rate to make it work. If you're selling couches for $1,500, you probably would make it, you'd probably be happy with a 3% conversion rate because people are going to do a lot more buying and selling, buying or shopping before they buy, a lot more window shopping, a lot more getting ideas, comparing and contrasting. But if you have a product, if you're selling red Sharpie markers, if it fits what bill they're going for, they're just going to buy it. And so you have to decide, where do you fit in that? So what conversion rates do you need? And so then what you could do is you could take your conversion rate. So 1 divided by your conversion rate will give you the number of clicks that it would take to make a sale. So if you had a 20% conversion rate, so 1 divided by, if I learn how to use a calculator, it would take you 5 clicks to make a sale. If you had a 15% conversion rate, 1 divided by 1.5, it's ominous, but 6.6666, let's just call it 7 clicks to get a sale. And then if you had a 8% conversion rate, 1 divided by 0.08, you would take about 12 or 13 clicks to get a sale. So whatever the number of clicks to get a sale times so you would basically figure out like, okay, in different scenarios, if let's say Amazon's saying it's $1, we'll just say it's $1 to $2. And you figure you want to have an 8% to a 15% conversion rate. So an 8% conversion rate, it's 13 clicks. So let's just say 13 clicks times $1 on the low end for the clicks. That means it's $13 would be your cost of acquisition. Or at $2, and at the other end, let's say you're getting 8 clicks to get a sale. 8 times 2, that's $26 is your cost per acquisition. So then you take your cost per acquisition, your cost per sale, and then divide cost per acquisition, cost per sale, basically the same thing. Divide that by your selling price, and that's going to be your A cost. So that can at least give you a forecast. And so if you're selling a product for $20 and you realize like, okay, even at a 20% conversion rate, I'm going to be spending $10 to get a sale. That's a 50% A cost. Is that going to work? And then what percentage of, what is your margin? And then what percentage of your sales would potentially be from PPC versus organic. And initially, it's going to be a lot more skewed towards PPC than organic, because PPC at least lets you kind of bump to the front of the line. It kind of gives you a little bit of a fast pass to start getting impressions, whereas you wouldn't get those impressions as early on with organic. So that's a couple things you could do potentially to at least give you a sense of a ballpark range. But unfortunately, I don't know of anywhere where Amazon tells you this, other than give you kind of a range of where they think you should spend. But oftentimes I find that their range of where they think you should spend on your bids for a particular keyword, I tend to find those tend to be a little bit exaggerated, because at the end of the day, they just want to make money off PPC. So they're going to kind of skew towards you should spend more, which maybe you do have to spend that much in your category. Maybe you don't. So a couple things to think about there. All right. Gregor Lungu says, for clarity, toilet paper customer search term converts well on soft toilet paper keyword. The same customer search term converts poorly on double toilet paper keyword. It's okay to negate it. I would imagine so. So toilet paper converts well on soft toilet paper keyword. Yeah. So either if double never works, then you can make double a phrase negation. If double toilet paper by itself just is not good, then just make it an exact. Like I don't see the reason why you wouldn't, but I know there was context earlier in your previous question. So it was, I have the same customer search term converting differently on two different keywords. Oh, it's just the word toilet paper. Yeah. Toilet paper is your marker, and you're talking about whether it's dry erase marker or permanent marker. And so double is the word that's different. So it sounds like double ply, I guess, just isn't doing quite as well for you for whatever reason. All right. Next up, Faisal Khan 777 says, which placement is best? Top of search, rest of search, product page, how to make more click and conversion on this placement and stay and decrease uniforming placement. Where should we decrease? All right. So some people will tell you it's always top of search. I will say wherever you get the most sales and you get them profitably is where you're going to do the best. Because if you're going after, let's say your product has 200 reviews and the people that currently are getting, top of search placements for the primary keywords are getting, 20,000 reviews, and, yours is higher price than theirs, maybe it's just not going to do as well. But maybe you do great on product search. Maybe you do great a little bit farther down the page in rest of search because people didn't maybe like the more popular options with more reviews or whatever. So just test it out and see where it works. And I know people like to have like the magic wand to say, oh, it's always going to be top of search. The good news is it's not always top of search, because if everyone else is going after top of search, but you're doing well on product page and rest of search, do you really care? No. And then maybe over time, top of search is one that you kind of have to earn your way into in a lot of categories. Now, if you're in a category where it's like super long tail and, nobody has all that many reviews, you might be fine. But if you're in a more competitive niche, sometimes it's better just to start off with, longer tail keywords. And I know that's not a placement thing, but also, focus more on the rest of search and the product pages, because those can still be profitable and still get you sales. All right. Shan says, what types of campaign strategies should we use for newly launched products? Any suggestion? Always start with auto campaign, broad match campaign. And I tend to find especially if you're in competitive niches, go after the longer tail keywords first, and then maybe work your way into the shorter ones. Or if you do shorter ones, shorter tail keywords tend to be more competitive. Like my example of marker versus red dry erase marker, which is much more long tail. Marker is going to give you a lot of unrelated searches that wouldn't do as well for a red dry erase marker. So I tend to find, especially if your budget is somewhat limited, go after very targeted search terms and phrases before you go after ones that are a little bit outside of the exact customer intent. All right. Zane says, you said my name perfectly. Oh, good. I'm glad. Nice. Yeah, thank you. My product is already with Amazon now, just waiting for it to be shipped to the various FCs. So it's Prime eligible. Sounds like a Prime Day launch. Oh, yeah, definitely. And FC, if this is your first product, or if, I'll just say this, anyone who's been selling on Amazon for any length of time knows FC transfer status can be the death of you. And sometimes on peak days like Prime Day, they spend not as much time unloading and loading trucks that are going back and forth between fulfillment centers. They focus on the stuff that's on the shelves that customers have bought and getting orders out the door. So that sometimes might hurt a little bit, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. All right. What else do we have? Brian B says, morning, just seeing the fees. Is it $500 per item for Prime Day? I'm not 100% sure which thing you're talking about. Are you talking about the Prime Day deals, which I didn't think you could still get into them? I thought it might be too late for that. But do I think it's worth it this year? We'll see. Coupon might work to convert the increased traffic. Yeah, coupons definitely sometimes work. The one thing to keep in mind with coupons is if coupon is part of your ongoing strategy, if you lower your price too much, your net price, so to speak, with the coupon, you might be shooting yourself in the foot for sales down the road. So you might just want to make sure, like if coupon is not something you normally use, then maybe test it out. But if this coupon is something you normally do use, maybe be a little more cautious. But you could still do brand tailored promotions. You could still do, target, people that added your product to cart, for after Prime Day. That's always a good one. All right. So the Karen Classroom says, hi, I want to learn and find a job for PPC. How to start? Well, you could go to my Amazon. This is not going to guarantee a job, but at least help you with skill sets. You could go to mag-school.com. And this week we have a deal where you can save 50% off. Just use coupon code MAG50 at checkout. A little shameless plug there. But really what it comes down to is if you want a job in PPC, it's about having the skills. And hopefully that helps you. And I think I might have time for maybe one more question. All right. Keith says, where can I find the average conversion rate of a category, keyword, or niche? I would look in your, why am I trying to brand analytics, search query performance report. Look at your search query performance report, and it'll tell you for your category, how are you doing as far as, your impressions compared to your category, your add to cart compared to your category, for particular keywords. And so I would look at that. That's one place to start. And if you're not sure, like, how do I read that? So all over the My Amazon Guy channel. So it looks like you're watching us on YouTube. Just look at the My Amazon Guy channel, type in ICAP, ICAP. That's the phrase Stephen Pope has coined for impressions, clicks, add to carts, purchases, ICAP. And so just look for ICAP. We've got tons and tons of videos on the ICAP funnel, or brand analytics, search query performance, SQP. Search all of the above, and you will find, I'm pretty sure it's many dozens of videos that'll walk you through how to look at that data. So hopefully that's helpful to you. And then I think I'll do one more here real quick. Faisal Khan says, if I want to focus on placements, top search page, how to not focus on rest of page and product page, please tell bid adjustment for focusing on decrease the rest of page. I honestly, first, just see how you do in general before just blindly pulling the trigger on top of search. I think top of search can be overrated, and it can be good. Don't get me wrong, but I've just seen way too many times people will say, I'm going all in on top of search for my main keyword. And then they're like, how long should I go with 300% ACOS? I'm like, I don't think you should at all. So be very cautious about being too aggressive on top of search. And especially if you're selling red dry erase markers, maybe red dry erase markers as a keyword, you go high on top of search. But the term markers, maybe you just have a very low bid and just try to see if you can find, harvest some long tail keywords out of that. But I would not, if you're selling red dry erase markers, as we showed earlier in this video, it's a completely different set of products on the search results page for markers versus red dry erase markers. So whatever your product is and whatever your specific product is versus the very broad word or phrase to describe products like yours, don't go all in on those top of search there. So, all right, let's see. Maybe I'll do one more here real quick, just for fun. Karan says, great, thanks. Trends Culture says, want to sell a product, or probably I want, because O is right next to it. O is right next to I on the keyboard. I want to sell a product, but I want to target other products like it's a complement for other product. Best strategies to use to push against the algorithm to put me complement for other ASIN. You could do an ASIN, an ASIN. You could do a auto campaign and turn off the other placements, the other targets, other than complements. Just see how that works. And then, what products are you showing up for? And then just also do a product targeting campaign and put in ASINs that are of products similar to yours. So I'm trying to see on my desk if I can find a product that might be an example of something I'm finding. But let's just pretend calculators also have cases. Like, maybe when I was in high school, people might have had a case for a calculator. I don't think they did. Maybe like the TI graphing calculators. But anyway, let's just pretend there's accessories to calculators. So maybe if you're selling the calculator, you also try to show up on accessories. Now, accessories tend to be you buy the calculator first and go for the accessory. But maybe you have one type of accessory that you're selling and you go after another type of accessory. So, if you're selling a garlic press, maybe the complementary ones might be a cutting board or garlic press is probably not a good one, but whatever you think those complementary products are to yours, you could also do very specific campaigns, product targeting campaigns to go after the product carousel ads on those detail pages. So, all right, hopefully this was helpful to everybody. We'll be doing more things like this in the future, so just stay on this channel. And then also shout out to Noah Wickham, our sales and marketing vice president, has a weekly show on Fridays as well, where he answers your questions. So we wish you the best on Prime Day. Hopefully this is a good day for you, not spending too much on PPC or coupons, but just remember things keep going after Prime Day. So make sure you set yourself up for success after Prime Day. Maybe look at running some brand tailored promotions for your add to carts for all the window shoppers that were just kind of clicking around. Maybe those people want to buy your product and they just need a little nudge, a little reminder, and give them that. So anyway, thanks everybody. Take care.